Love's Travel Stop in Ontario, Oregon. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas on this beautiful Christmas Eve day. It's just sunny out, nice and cold. 23 degrees, sunny out, not a cloud in the sky, maybe a couple of little thin clouds, but beautiful day for a drive and a day for some happy discussions. No more ranting and raving on this one because it is Christmas Eve and I got a lot of good news to spread. First bit of good news, I'll rant a tiny bit, just a little bit, because I'm at least happy the story got told. I'm not happy that I was left out of it. See, I've been doing a lot of research on Idaho as we're gearing up for our Idaho campaigns, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about in a second. So I've been doing a lot of research on Idaho, and in particular marijuana statistics and so forth. And then I thought, how much weed is Idaho buying right here in Ontario, Oregon? That's what I wanted to know. So I went to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission statistics, their little dashboard for marijuana, and I looked up the county by county sales figures. And in the case of this county, Malheur County, there's only one town where you can sell marijuana, and that's right here in Ontario. So whatever I find from Malheur County, that's going to be, what that shop right there and others are selling here in Ontario. There's 6 shops. So I looked it up, and the first thing I found was like the last month, the sales were like $8 million in a month out of this little town. The next thing I found was that it's been $8 million a month for about the past 7 months. It's like averaging $8 million a month during a pandemic with shutdowns. Then I learned that Malheur County is the #1 county in Oregon when it comes to per capita sales. Now, that makes a lot of sense because this little town is just 17,000 people. This whole county is just 30,000 people, and you're selling $8 million a month? Well, of course, it's because they're not selling just to the people in this county. They're selling mostly to Idahoans, and everybody knows it. All right, I guess we're back. Somehow I lost my connection. But now we're back, and as I was saying, I've been doing a bunch of research for Idaho and found in our little city of Ontario, we're the highest per capita marijuana sales in the state. That's largely because we're selling mostly to the state of Idaho. Boise metro area has got about 750,000 people, and we see their license plates in the parking lots of the dispensaries all the time. So then I got to thinking, wait a minute, 8 million month after month after month, that kind of adds up. I wonder what the total has been. Sure enough, I found the total since July of 2019, since the first dispensaries opened up in Ontario, the total is $103 million. 103. I'm like, hey, that's a news story, right? Because news, they like big round numbers, like 100 million, right? So I'm thinking about the headline, Ontario, Oregon tops $100 million in sales. And that, by the way, means about $3.1 million in taxes just for the city of Ontario, and another $17.5 million in taxes for the state of Oregon. So I figure this is going to be a good story. Let me get this out to the local newspapers, local news networks in Idaho to help the push legalization by saying, hey, look at all the money you're wasting. Look at all the money that's going to Ontario, Oregon. Look at all the jobs that are being created in Ontario, Oregon. Look at all the taxes being raised in Ontario, Oregon. All because you keep trying to ban marijuana. So I put together a press release. I sent it out to all the news networks, newspapers. I got one bite. That one bite was a local news reporter for the ABC affiliate, which is actually in my hometown in Ample. I'm like, all right, great. So she calls me and says, hey, can you interview on this? I'm like, sure. She's like, all right, what's a good time? I'm like, well, as soon as possible, I guess. She goes, how about 12:30, which is like a half hour away. I'm like, yeah, half hour for a Zoom interview, no problem. So in that intervening half hour, I put on a suit. I set up a background for the camera, so it doesn't look like, just my kitchen. And I get the camera all set up, get the audio testing, get all that done. I get on the Zoom call with her. We do the Zoom call. We do the interview. It's great. I got all my sound bites in. I practiced them, had them all rehearsed. So then I wait till 5 for the evening news to come on. The evening news teases the story, Ontario pot shops to the top $100 million. Like, all right, here we go. I get my camera out to record. And instead, what made it was a picture of a telephone while they did a telephone call to the owner of one of the that's kind of like our business competitors in a sense. They're actually the ones that prevented us from moving our dispensary down into Ontario. It's a long story, but basically our enemy. So a story I completely researched, I completely pitched, and by the way, they used graphics in the story from the Oregon Department website, right? She didn't know where to get those. She asked me where to get them. I said, oh, well, you go to this website, you go look at this, you go to this dashboard, right? So basically an entire news story that was me, and I'm not in it at all. That's all right. Hey, the word got out, the seeds planted, so to speak, but it did irk me a little bit. Not cool, local reporter. But that leads me on to my next happy topic for this Christmas Eve, and that is Idaho and the fact that I am moving back into it. I've been living in Ontario this past couple of years, and over the 2020 campaign, 2019 and 2020, I was helping the medical marijuana campaign, and it got frustrating because I wasn't an Idaho resident. So I couldn't petition, like I couldn't put clipboards and petitions. I could only hand them Idaho residents who then would get people to sign them, right? And the fact is, after South Dakota passed legalization and Nebraska is moving on to do both legalization and medical, I believe, and the folks that I'm working with believe, that it's time for Idaho to do both. So we've passed the medical marijuana initiative. It's the same initiative as last time. We've passed it on to a new group that's called Kind Idaho and a new chief petitioner named Jackie Winters. My dad was the chief petitioner last year. It took a lot out of him. He's not doing it this year. So that leaves this legalization idea, and it's still in the formative stages as to like what it will include and, home grow rights, different aspects, right? We think we can pass a pretty standard, you can grow 6 plants, everybody can possess an ounce, there's going to be pot shops kind of a law. But we want to do some polling on that. We want to find out where Idahoans stand exactly. We want to know that we don't raise a whole bunch of money only to fail, right? We want to win this thing. So this is the preliminary stages, but we've got some investors that are very interested, in-state investors that are very interested in this, especially now that I've put those numbers out there of $8 million a month just from the Boise area alone, which would surely increase if people weren't having to drive all the way to Ontario, which is an hour away, by the way, from Boise. So we got the investors that are interested. We're going to put together some polling and some language, but then, of course, the critical component is who's going to be the chief petitioner. Well, some of my folks working with me can't be chief petitioners, and others could be, but maybe not be the best face for being a chief petitioner. And so it's just come down to the fact that I kind of see it as my destiny, kind of a prodigal son thing, that I gotta, if someone's gonna legalize this thing, might as well be me. So I'm moving back to Idaho on January 1st, Caldwell to be specific, and I will be getting my residency, and then I will be the chief petitioner for whatever we put together. I, of course, have an idea. I think it should be called the Idaho Citizens Initiative for Cannabis Legalization and Expungement, or ICICLE. You know me, I love to retronym things, right? I love doing that. Backronym, that's what it's called, backronym. when you start with the acronym and then work backwards to find what you wanted to say. Kind of like Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Anyway, what that means for you, dear viewer, is that these Cannabis Commute videos are going to be about 30 minutes longer because I'll be driving from Caldwell, not Ontario. Now, some of you know me personally might be saying, oh my God, are you and Lori okay? Yeah, Lori and I are perfectly fine, and I will probably be seeing, we'll be seeing each other, plenty. Our relationship is solid. It has nothing to do with that. We both recognize that to do what we do, to be activists that we are, there are sacrifices. And sometimes, in this case, it means living a half hour apart from each other across a state border. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it work, and we're going to get this law passed. And once it is passed, we could actually live in Idaho. We could actually grow our garden in Idaho and live there. So that wouldn't be a bad ending to the tale. And the final bit of good news I got to get to you before we hit the canyons and I lose my connection is that starting next month, the Russ Belville Show live podcast will be streamed right here on YouTube. Yay! I finally got the little device I needed to be able to run my soundboard into my phone. And since my phone is on 4G, it won't compete with the Wi-Fi. And so we'll be able to run video. Now, it ain't going to be fancy, folks. It's going to be like this. I'm going to set a camera up, but it's going to be pointing at me. And there's not going to be graphics and chyrons and animations and any of that crap. Just me talking in a microphone. But if you're watching me right now, you're already used to that. So what's the problem, right? Yeah, so just some more Idaho facts and figures, because I like to practice this stuff. The $8 million a month that's being sold in Ontario, if that was being sold in the state of Idaho, would generate $500,000 in tax revenue just from the Idaho 6% sales tax. Just from the 6% sales tax. And then Idaho can actually triple that, add like a 12% excise tax. And even with the 6% sales tax and 12% excise tax, your tax rate would be 2% lower than the state of Oregon. You'd be undercutting Ontario by 2%. Now, there's other factors, of course. Supply being one of them, like how many growers will there be in Idaho and how much supply will there be and so forth. And that's more of the kind of stuff we got to iron out in the details of the language. How many licenses will there be? Will there be unlimited licenses? Or will a state like Idaho want to have, keep the thumb down? Keep in mind that what we're going for here is only a statutory initiative. It's only a law. It's not constitutional, right? So whatever we pass as a law, the legislature can come back the next session and go, no, not that, and certainly not that, right? So there's a balance you got to have. Like, we can pass, all right, everybody gets 12 plants and can have 8 ounces, and suppose you pass that, and then the legislature goes, oh no, and then starts chopping it down, chomps out home grow entirely. 12 plants, no, you get 0. But then maybe if you go with 6 plants, they're more accustomed to it, or maybe you go with 4 because that's what Oregon has, right? There's a lot of questions, like what's the right levels? What's the right levels that will pass but also survive? What will pass on the initiative but also survive the legislature coming after it? I think if you aim too high, you ask for too much, you risk the backlash factor of them coming back and shutting it down. But if you go for too little, you risk that you pass it and then they backlash it anyway. So that's where polling comes in. You get that polling, you figure out where people stand, what moves the needle one way or the other. There's going to be a lot of battles to fight too that are going to be like a replay of the 1990s in Idaho. We have a saying in Idaho, welcome to Idaho, now set your clock back 30 years. And it's kind of true, right? Like, we're going to have the fight over I'm sure we're going to have a fight over per se DUID laws. Like, oh my God, the stone drivers, we need to have a 5 nanogram limit or some bunk like that. In Idaho, you're certainly going to get pushed back on the drug testing front. Like, if I'm writing legalization, I wanted to say that, drug testing for marijuana and its metabolites should have no punitive effect whatsoever, unless you're showing, for cause at work was getting stoned kind of a situation. But put something like that in, and you're just tempting the legislature and the business lobby to come after that. So what do you do? Depends on what our polling shows. Like, suppose polling comes back and we're sitting at 51% support. Well, then you're going to craft something pretty careful. Suppose polling comes back at 58% support. Now you got some mandate, you got some wiggle room to add some better stuff to it. I'm going to be relying a lot on people smarter than me on this issue. People who've done it before. My friend Anthony Johnson has agreed to be a part of this in any way he can help. And believe me, he's been chief petitioner for, 4 or 5 different initiatives now? Most of them successful. The first initiative to decriminalize drugs in any state. So, yeah, I'll be leaning on Anthony for sure. And folks that I've met throughout my career in Normal, different lawyers and such, I'm excited. Not necessarily excited to be sleeping in Idaho. That's not fun. You have to go back to being paranoid and careful. Do I smell okay? But that's I think everything I've done so far in my career has kind of led me to this place. Somebody's going to have to legalize in Idaho. Somebody who can wear a suit. Somebody who can put together statistics and sound bites. Somebody who can respond fast on their feet to questions. Who knows the opponent's arguments in and out. I'm trying to talk myself into it. I suffer a lot from an imposter syndrome. Like, I can't believe that I'm doing what I'm doing and that kind of feeling. I get a lot of support from you guys out there. A lot of your comments, tweets, emails and such. That helps a lot. But somebody's got to step up in Idaho, and it's got to be somebody who, like, it's really bad in Idaho. Like I had people, when we were doing the medical marijuana petition last year, 2019, this time last year, we'd have people that, like, when I'd start filming a video to say, hey, we're in Gooding or whatever, they're like, oh, could you stop for a moment, wait till our car is out of view? We don't want anyone to see our car or our license plate, while we're here signing a legalization petition. That's the level of fear in Idaho. That's what people are dealing with. Your career, your freedom are on the line if you stand up. And I don't know, I followed a lot of states. I'm not going to say that it's necessarily haven't been this bad to other activists in other states, but I'll tell you, Idaho's got to definitely be in the top 5 as far as the political persecution of people that stand up for marijuana. I've got at least 3 friends I can think of who had to flee the state for them trying to take their kids over their marijuana activism. It's happened to me. I went to debate their drug czar, who chickened out and didn't show. But I went to debate their drug czar, and then in my motel room, I ended up getting a knock on the door from the cops who think I'm smoking weed in the motel room in Idaho, downtown. Now, I may have smoked weed that day, but not in that motel room. Anyway, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with it's a very religious state on the eastern side, especially very Mormon. On the western side, more Nazarene and I don't know, what do you call those people that have the big, arena-sized churches by the freeway? Evangelicals? I don't know if they're exactly evangelicals, but whatever those are. There's a lot of that in Idaho. A lot of prejudice as well. It's kind of known for neo-Nazis and Aryan nations and that kind of stuff. And then, believe me, that's a strong thing in Idaho. still. But also a prejudice against anything liberal, anything left-wing, anything democratic. Like, Idaho kind of prides itself on being the safe haven from California, Oregon, Washington, you know. Idaho is what America was, which is not a good thing, really. Idahoans, you know, in fact, Lori was telling me of threats. The Republican legislature threatening to cut funding for Boise State University because the success of Boise State's athletic programs, particularly football, and getting national recognition, has led to an influx of liberals. Too many Democrats. Why, there's 6-7 Democrats representing Boise now. Turn it all liberal. The mayor, president of the university, who, by the way, her name is Tromp, Tromp. President of the university, the mayor, getting threats. It's, we don't like them California tops around here. Don't Californicate Idaho is a popular bumper sticker. And it happens because, you know, the house prices, you know, you sell your 2-bedroom house in California for $1.2 million. You come to Boise, you can buy yourself a pretty nice estate for that. So you're going to hear a whole lot more about Idaho as I continue my activism there, as we get Icicle up and running. I don't know if it'll be called Icicle. I just like that idea. Well, we're heading into the Canyonlands. We're going to lose the connection. So I'll sign off for now. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy Hanukkah. Joyous Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.